everybody, this is Heather and I'm an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up! Or with Stampin' Up! And it looks like I am crooked, so, or not crooked, but I was sideways, so looks like we're going to be doing this portrait mode tonight. Give me just a moment while I get my screen all set up because I want to make sure that I can see your comments. Oh, there we go. Put it on mute so that I only have to hear myself once. So, boy, I've got some great hair going on tonight, don't I? So I'm just going to kind of chat for a couple minutes, give people a chance to get on. Hey, Marcy, how are you tonight? I'm just getting started, giving it a minute for people to get on and get everything going, and then we're going to jump into the cards that we're making tonight. So, what have you got going on tonight? Anything exciting? Besides watching me, of course. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I had anything great to tell you about this week. You know, my week just kind of blew through pretty quickly. I'm an accountant, and the first couple weeks of the month is when we do the end of month for the prior month. And so those 2 weeks just kind of go by in a blur because there's just, you know, there's so much to do, and there's a finite amount of time to get it done, get those reports out. They have to be in by a certain time, and so yeah, it's a lot of scrambling, and the days go really, really fast. So hey, Jason, how are you? Welcome. Hello, Eric and Talina. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, hi, Kathy. How are you tonight? Thanks for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to flip the camera around, talk about a few of the promos that we've got going on, and then we're just going to jump right into the cards we're making. I'm glad to hear that you're well, Jason. I watched your video the other day, and I really enjoyed watching it. I loved that blue sunflower. That was just amazing. We have for those of you who don't know, we have a bundle called Celebrate Sunflowers, and Jason on his recent live video made a card where the flower itself was blue with a yellow center, and it was various shades of blue, and it was gorgeous. So anyway, okay, so I'm going to turn this camera around and we're going to get going, okay? Hang on here. Hope I don't make anybody seasick while I'm adjusting. Okay, let's see here. I hate it when I have to do the camera in portrait, but I got it started the wrong direction, so we're gonna go with it. Oh, so Kathy, you saw Jason's video too. Yeah, it was an amazing card. It was beautiful. And I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Hey, Tammy, welcome. Good to see you. I am doing well. Update on my shoulder. I had an MRI, and they are time for, right? Okay, so the first thing I want to do, you know, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit closer since I have to do it in portrait. Might as well get it a little closer so you can see it a little better, right? So let's see here. Sorry about this. Okay, I guess I can move my mouse out of the way. I'm not going to need that. Okay, so I just want to remind you about a couple specials we have going on. One is called Waves of the Ocean, and this is a sneak peek at a bundle that is going to be available in our new catalog that comes out in May, but you can pre-order it. Well, I want to clarify, when you pre-order something on Amazon, you order it and you don't get it until it comes out whenever, right? That's not the case with our pre-orders. You can go ahead and order this anytime between now and March and have it before the catalog comes out. So that's kind of exciting. If you have not seen what's included in this, there's a couple of different ways you can buy it. First, there's the bundle that comes with these beautiful stamps and these amazing dies. Or there's some really cool paper that you can get that goes with it, and it's done in that style, you know, where people pour the paints on like a canvas and then let it drip, sort of roll out of the way, and it just kind of all blends together. And I'm doing an amazing job describing it, I'm sure. Anyway, that's how this paper was designed to look like that, and it's gorgeous. And then there's these metallic, these foils, different shades of blue. And then we have these great little rhinestone waves, basic jewels. Now, and they're beautiful colors. You can see they're the blues and turquoise. And these items right down here, the papers and the gems, are only available during this promotion. So once the catalog comes out, the only thing that's going to be available are the stamps and the dies. So if you like all of these products and want them now, you can order them individually like this, or you can buy the entire collection for $79.25, which I think is a pretty amazing price that you get all that. You get the papers, you get the gems, you get the stamps, you get the dies, you get everything. So if you are really liking this, now is a great time to buy it. Also, this month only, we have a promotion going on. Savings are in bloom. And first off, you can get our mini cutting and embossing machine. It's normally $60. You can get it 20% off for $48. So that's pretty amazing. And then there are 13 different bundles. There's this one here all squared away, and then 12 more on this page. And you can go to my website, heathersides.stampinup.net, to see better pictures of the different bundles that are available. And they are also 20% off. These are bundles that at one point were sold as bundles like this, the two items together. They have since been divided where they're still in, some are still available individually, but for this special, they brought them back for a 20% discount. So this month is, while okay, let me try that again. This promotion is just for the month of March. So if you want to take advantage of this, and why wouldn't you? You want to do so by the end of March. And again, you can go to my website, heathersides.stampinup.net. If you place an order and your order is under $150, I would love it if you could please use this host code. It just helps me to be able to provide some free goodies and prizes and such to my guests, or to my, my customers. And I want to start offering some freebies on my videos. I'm going to do a drawing tonight at the end too, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. If your order's over $150, I'm seeing a lot of stopping and starting on my screen here where it keeps freezing up. And please let me know if it's doing that to you as well. I'm also kind of moving my camera around because I noticed that it's pretty off center and crooked, and if I only have so much space to use because we're going portrait, then I want to make sure we can maximize that space. So let's go ahead and get started on our cards. The first one I'm going to do tonight, let's see, how am I lining up here? Oh, this bugs me. Let's see here. Bear with me, guys. Okay, so the first card, I'm using a new stamp set called Sentimental Swirls. Well, I say new, it came out in January, so that's still new to me. And this actually was designed by one of our $1 million sales achievers. And this was her, when you, let me explain that to you. When you sell $1 million in personal sales with Stampin' Up, you get to design, create a stamp set with our designers, and you get credited for it being your design and everything, which I think is really cool. So anyway, this was designed by one of our recent, semi-recent $1 million sales achievers. So we're going to use this stamp set tonight. And then we're also going to use a product that you may or may not be familiar with, and it is called It comes in a little tube like this, and it's called Crystal Effects, Shimmery Crystal Effects. And I don't know how well you can see it on the screen. I'm going to try to put it up to the camera and see. But what it does, if we look at it sideways, you might be, not really. What it does is it gives kind of a little glossy look to what you're stamping, and it's got a little bit of sparkle to it. And it is kind of 3D, sort of. It balls up a little. You can see where it's pretty shiny on the card. But anyway, we're going to use this tonight, and it's just one of those often overlooked products in the catalog. So I wanted to be able to share that with you. I'm going to move this up some more because it looked like a lot of what I had was out of the frame. So I want to make sure we're in the frame. So for this envelope, we're actually just going to stamp it. I'm not putting any designer series paper on it. I love this beautiful swirl in this set, and so that's what we're going to use tonight. I'm going to use my Bermuda Bay ink, and I'm just going to get a good amount of ink there on the stamp. Now, I have found when using the acrylic stamp, when you're using the photopolymer stamps, it seems to work better if you have some sort of a cushion with it. And for a while I thought maybe just my pad of paper would work, but I think I'm finding that I still need to use my piercing mat to get a good image. So that's just something to consider. I need to grab a piece of paper here, because I want to make sure this is just scrap paper, and I just want to make sure that I'm only stamping on my the flap of my envelope. So let's ink that up again. And then what I did here is I just kind of went off the edge like this, stamped it, and then I flipped it around. Let's re-ink it. Doris says she's freezing. What's the temperature there today, Doris? Now I'm just lining this up to go this way. And there we go. And we've stamped it. You could do it on the front of your envelope too if you like. I'm going to put this ink pad away. Okay, set our envelope aside. I want to clean off this stamp because it's big enough that if I don't clean it right away, I will bump into it and set stuff on it. And as Robin likes to hear me say, I'll lay in it. Okay. As long as I get most of it off now, I can come back and get the rest of it later. Well, and why I'm cleaning it off right now, I don't know, because I'm going to use it on the card. Oh, what was I thinking? Okay. So now we have, first piece I have here is a half a sheet of Coastal Cabana. No, it is Bermuda Bay. Half a sheet of Bermuda Bay. It's 8.5 by 5.5. It's scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take my bone folder and get a nice crisp edge on there. Set that aside. Actually, we're going to stamp on that, so I'm not going to set it aside just yet. I'm going to get my ink back out that I really didn't need to put away because we're using it again. And I'm just kind of making random patterns on the card, like this. And it's just going to be a little bit of a background. Most of it is going to be covered up, actually. So if you have some empty spots in the middle, that's okay. That doesn't really matter. Well, I'm not envious of your temperatures, Doris. Where are you located? Oh, yes, I see Talina's note that you're talking about the screen is freezing a lot. Okay, give me a second. Let me stamp this and then I'm going to try something. I think I might be connected to my Wi-Fi again. Is it still freezing a lot, you guys? Or did it, sometimes it works itself out, like it decides, well, she's going to be here for a while, we might as well just settle down. I want to get that cleared up if that's what it's doing. I got most of this cleaned off. Now I'll go back and clean it off good when we're all done, I think. Okay, I'm going to try something really quick here. Bear with me because I want to try. Okay, let's see if that's any better. And usually it's being connected to the Wi-Fi that's a problem. Oh, well, it's looking clear on my end now. And it does seem to be an improvement over what it was. So I hope that it works on your end too. But let's go ahead and move forward. But let me know if you guys continue to have problems, okay? So we've got this. Now we've done the front of our card and stamped the swirls. Let's go ahead and do the inside of the card. And we're also going to do this strip that's going to go on the front. And I have a strip of Coastal Cabana that is going to back, it's going to be like a little mat behind that white piece. So let's go ahead and do our stamping on the white pieces. Oh my goodness, you guys, I did it again. Cleaned off my stamp and put away my ink pad, and I still need that color of ink and that stamp. Maybe I'm just getting all the crazy, weird brain stuff out of the way now, and then it'll go smooth the rest of the video, right? So, hi Mary. Is that Mary or Mari? How do you say that? Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I just want to take a peek. This is what I thought I did. Okay. And I'm just going to put my swirl right here like that on that piece. Let's ink it up again. Hi Cheryl, thanks for joining us. Okay, got a good amount of ink on here. Now I'm going to do this piece, and I'm just going to do one swirl right in the middle. There we go. And I'm just going to set this aside and clean it off later, because, you know, I'll probably find that I need to use it again. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Coastal Cabana ink and my Flirty Flamingo ink, and I'm going to take these little flowers. One is the, one is the outline of the flower, and then one is the color to fill it in. And I'm just going to do a bunch of them in the Coastal Cabana and then a bunch of them in Flirty Flamingo. So, for those of you who are just joining us, I apologize that we're having to watch the screen in portrait mode. I still haven't quite mastered the technique of making sure that I get my feed started in the right direction every time. I think I'm doing it the same way every time, but I'm not getting the same result every time. So I've got to be doing something different, right? Let's see. I think I want one more. Do I want one more? No, I don't think I do. Okay, so let's clean off this one. I already have ink all over my fingers. We have barely gotten started. Now I'm going to do the flower that fills in that outline. And I have found with some sets, with some stamps, it's easier to do the outline first and then fill in the color. And I think this is one of those sets. It's kind of hard to line it up just so when I'm not directly over it, like in this case, but we're gonna go with it. Oh my gosh, guys, I did it again. I still need to stamp this in this color. My brain is on vacation tonight. I wish my body was. I'm going to try to line that up and do that again because that came out really super light. Well, that's kind of... Okay. Now, let's do these pieces. The fill in of the flower. Okay, well, I got that one lined up. That last stamp lined up, right? Okay, now let's do some of the ones that are Flirty Flamingo. I might need to re-ink this pad. I do use it quite a bit. Okay, so we'll start with the outline. We'll do one there, and let's do one like that, and one right there. Let's do the same on this strip. One there. Let's put a little color right there. And it does get better than this, trust me. Let's fill in the little flower here. And we'll do them on this piece as well. There we go. Now let's put away this ink pad. Now the rest of this goes by pretty quickly because now we're just going to do assembly. We're going to go ahead and stick this on the inside of the card. There's my adhesive. Okay, move this out of the way. And I'm just gonna put it in here, kind of watch your margins, make sure they look like they're relatively the same. That one didn't line up quite as well as it did with the first one. The first one I also did it this direction instead. And I think I kind of like this one a little bit better, but now we're gonna go ahead and get going with this piece here. So first, let's go ahead and attach these two to one another. Again, watch your margins. This one actually will not have margins on the left and the right because it goes all the way to the end, all the way to the sides of your card. So you'll just have a little peek of the Coastal Cabana on the top and the bottom. And we are going to mount it onto the card using foam adhesive strips, or foam adhesive sheets, I'm sorry. I like to cut them with my bigger scissors. They're just long enough that with the tiny little blades of the snips, it just doesn't cut as easily. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, oh, you know what else I forgot to do? I forgot to leave space for my happy birthday message, we'll do that now. So I have the happy birthday stamp that is also in this Sentimental Swirls kit. I love the font on this. I think it's just kind of a fun font. And I'm going to use my black memento. Let's see, where would be a good place for this that it will fit? I might just have to do it right there like that. Okay, so there it is, and it's a little crooked. Overall, this card is not turning out quite as good as my first one, but I'll make sure to show you the first one when we're done too, so you have an idea of how it was supposed to look. But you know, the other nice thing is too, when you make two cards, right, that are the same, you always like one better than the other. That one just turned out better than the other. And you know what? That is okay. Because the people you're going to send them to, it's not like you're sending them both to the same person. So they're not going to know. They're going to like the card just because you made it and it is beautiful. They're not going to know how it compares to something else, another card that you made just like it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just mount this on here. I told you this before. Make sure when you're using that foam adhesive sheet that you are right where you want to be before you lay it down, because it is not very forgiving. So I may go back later and put another little swirl up here, just because, you know, I'll do that right now. Just because it did end up a little bit blank up there. So let's just put a little something in there. And I just stuck my finger in the ink again. Oh, see, and I got ink on there. Ah, I'm batting 1,000 tonight, aren't I? I'm with you, Talina. I love this set, and I wish I could go back and see the stuff from when they demoed it, because she did some really cute things with it. I remember it being really cute, and I remember having to go right out and buy it, and then I got it and couldn't remember what to do with it. Okay, so I have this fancy little eraser. All it is a sand eraser. I bought it on Amazon, a couple bucks I think. And when you have little bits, this might be too much ink to get rid of this, but I'm going to try it. Oh, and I'm really shaking the camera. When you have little tiny blurbs of ink, and like I said, this might be too big, it'll sand those kind of things right off, and you don't have to deal with them. But for the sake of time, we're just going to keep on keeping on. Now, I want to show you something that I did different last time than what I'm going to do this time, because I'm curious to see how the results differ. With this card, with my original, I did all the crystal effects first. Then once it had dried, like 24 hours later, I went in and added the little yellow rhinestones, and they end up being kind of on top of, remember how I said the crystal effects is kind of 3D? So they ended up sitting a little higher than they normally would because they're on top of that. So tonight what I want to try is putting the rhinestones on first and then putting the crystal effects around the rhinestones. So we'll see which way turns out better. So I've got these are the 2001, 2002, I'm sorry, 2021, 2000 through 2023 in color jewels. And I'm going to use the, they're actually pale papaya, though they look very yellow. And I'm going to go ahead and use my Take Your Pick tool to put them on. If you don't have a Take Your Pick tool, you need a Take Your Pick tool. It does so many different things. I use mine all the time, and I love it. So this time around, I've put the jewels on first. Let's see how this is going to look. I think it'll look great either way, but I'm curious to see if it's a noticeable difference that I like better one way than more than the other. Okay, so now you can see I took the lid off, and it's like those little, I don't know, when my kids were little, we had these tubes like this that came with glitter glue in them, and that's what these kind of remind me of as far as how they work. I should put my glasses on for this. Maybe I should have had my glasses on all along. Okay, so now you just squeeze a little bit, right, like that, and it self-levels. So where you see it's kind of got that little, when I take it off, it's got like that little Hershey's Kiss tip to it. Don't worry about it. That will level out on its own as it settles. And once you get it on there, you do not want to touch it. I recommend leaving it at least overnight to really firm up and dry, because if you go in there and try to touch it, it will take your fingerprints basically, and it will end up, you'll have these cute little flowers with your finger smudge in them. So you don't want to touch it until it's dry. And it looks kind of milky when you first apply it, like now, but as you saw with my other card, it dries clear. Oh, see, that one went up over. That's not going to be pretty. That one went up over the gem. It looks like it kind of is doing that where it's going up over the gem. So it might be better to, gosh, these are all over the place, aren't they? It might be better to go ahead and let it dry and then put your gems on after. But I'll be curious to see once it dries how much of a difference that makes. Especially, like I said, because it's clear and not milky. So like in these ones where it kind of blurred in, what's the word? Where they kind of melded into one another and went over my gem. So I'm curious to see how that's going to look when it's dry. But that is the whole card. That's how I made the card. I'm going to set this one aside so that so I don't touch it and it has a chance to dry. But I will show you the other one again. This is what it should look like when it's all dry and you've got the gems on and it's all done. So nice, quick, easy card. And you can do so many different things with this stamp set because there's little birds you can put on the vine. There's other size flowers. There's butterflies. There's leaves. So you could pretty much do stuff any season, which I think is that's something that means a lot to me when I feel that a set isn't so specific for one particular season or event. So we have that card. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Next one has our cute little ducky right here, this cute little guy for spring. And I just love him. I think he looks like he's drunk. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll do the envelope first. And these are all pretty quick and simple cards. I'm taking a little longer tonight because I seem to be a bit discombobulated. But really, when I sat down and cranked these out to create them, I did them all, including designing and coming up with the ideas and, figuring things out, measurements and all that, in just a couple hours. So really, they're very simple cards. Okay. I'm going to put my designer series paper on here. This is the Daffodil Delight designer, it's the designer. Okay. Words are hard. It is part of the Brights color collection. There's a designer series paper. I've used this several times now. there's a designer series paper pack that you can get that has all the colors in, it's all the same prints, but different colors. So I kind of got a little carried away with the glue on that one. So we've got quite a bit extra there. Let's see here. Use my sponge dauber to get some of this glue off. There we go. There we go. And take my snips and trim it. I'm sorry I'm so out of sorts tonight, you guys. I don't know what my deal is. I did have to get up early to go to physical therapy, so I'm going to blame it on that. I don't know if that's the problem, but that's what I'm going to blame it on. Okay, so I've got my envelope done. Let's set it aside to dry while we make the card. I have some white baker's twine right there. We've got our card base, which as always, or as usual I should say, is 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to set it aside for now. We have the inside of our card where I've got a coordinating strip of the designer series paper. It matches our envelope, so let's get that on there. You know I always like to do a little something on the inside. Okay, now trim off these little extra pieces. And we're going to stamp our sentiment on the inside of the card. We're going to use, I'm actually using the crushed curry to stamp it on the inside, just because it's a little bit of a deeper yellow, a little bit darker, so I felt like it worked a little better for the sentiment. And it is sending warm and happy wishes this spring. And I can completely relate to enjoying the idea of warm wishes. I'm tired of being cold. Ah, that did not turn out quite as dark as I'd like it to. I'm just not doing well tonight, am I? I could always do the other side. Let's try the other side. Well, that's better, I guess. I'm going to get another quick strip of that yellow designer series paper. Well, maybe I'm not. I might be out of that color. Let's see how easily this comes off, because we might be able to just glue it back down on the other side. I think that might work. We'll peel off this extra little yellow. See, and this is the Heather Show, where we learn how to fix our mistakes. Okay. Now, my paper's a little thinner, so I have to be very careful with the liquid glue here, because it's going to soak right through this paper. There we go. That's better. Better. Okay, let's go ahead and stick this inside the card. Get it out of the way before I can do any more damage to it. Good grief. If this is your first time joining me tonight, please know I I like to think I'm usually a little better put together than I am tonight. I just don't know what my deal is. Okay, so, and by the way, this cardstock here, or card base, is So Saffron. That's what the name of that color is. Now I'm going to set this aside because we're not going to need it for a little bit. And I have these 3 pieces. 2 are Daffodil Delight, 1 is So Saffron, and then I also have a little So Saffron square that fits right behind this one. And I forgot my piece to mount these on. So let me get that really quick. Let's see what the measurement was that I was supposed to have that at. Going this way, it looks like 3.5 by 4.5, so I can just cut a quick base for that. So hang on just a second. Okay. Crisis averted. Now, what we're going to do is take these 3 pieces and we're going to change them in color just a little bit so that it may be hard to see this on the screen, but I want it to look like 3 different, overall I want it to be 4 different shades of yellow, even though I'm only using 2 shades of yellow cardstock. So a really light shade that is the card base itself. Now we want a shade of So Saffron that is just slightly darker. So I'm going to take my blending brush here, ink it up. Now I'm going to start doing this off the cardstock because I don't want a sudden blob of color, which you do get if you start right on your cardstock. So I'm just going around on this a little bit, and I just want to make it a shade or 2 darker. So I'm comparing it to the cards. So you can see how it's just a little bit darker than when we began, right? So now the next one I'm going to do, this is the Daffodil Delight, the So Saffron color for my ink. And I'll show you why in a minute. So I've got the darker paper and the lighter ink. Just go over this a little bit more. Okay, so now you can see it's slightly darker than our original one. I may want to make that, let's go over it one more time, one more coat. And I'm doing exactly what I told you not to do. I'm starting right there on my cardstock and getting little blobs. Okay, so I'm just going to set it right there for now. Now this third strip, it's the darker cardstock, the Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to use the Daffodil Delight ink on this one. So inking up my brush. And I'm going to want this to be slightly darker than the last one, which is why I'm using the darker paper and the lighter ink on the first one, and the darker paper and the darker ink on the third one, the last one. Oops. Maybe another coat, and then we'll call it good. Yeah, there we go. I think we're good there. And it really is just subtle differences among the three strips. You can put more ink on there if you want the difference to be more in your face, I guess you could say. Now what I'm going to do, what I did when I made my first ones, these, you know what, I'm looking at I think this one here still needs a little more ink. They just don't look all that different to me. Let's do this one more time. You know what? Let's add a little crushed curry to this just to darken it up a little bit. Because we can do this. That's better. That is better. And then I'm going to add just a little bit, got ink all over me. I want to add a little bit of the Daffodil Delight to that middle one. I'm just trying to create just a little bit more of a variance among the three colors. And I can't tell you any specific amount to do. You just kind of do it to your liking. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so now what I did, just to make it a little easier for myself, I flipped these over. And I took just a little bit of tear-in tape because that's what I had on hand. And I lined these up. And I'm taping them together because then when I put them on the white backing, it's easier to get everything lined up the way it needs to be. That is the end of that roll of tear-in tape. Okay. Then line this one up. Okay, now I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on here. Get off. Get off there. Okay. And I'm going to, now this is going to have a really tiny margin, which is all I wanted. I just wanted that little tiny pop of white. And then, just to make sure they kind of lay down flat and lay together, I just go over it with the bone folder, like that. And see how it reminds me of a paint chip card, where it's got the different shades that are available of the paint. Okay, now, let's go ahead and do our little ducky. I stamped the ducky in crushed curry, again, because it was a little bit richer and darker. And here he is. Isn't he adorable? I just love him. Does anybody else have this set yet? Because if you don't, you need it. So I'll line him up there. Perfect. Clean off my stamp. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to take, where did I put my cup? There we are. Oh, I didn't show you. This is the stamp set, by the way. It's got some Easter wishes, but also my friend and spring and may your days blossom with joy and happiness. So it's not just Easter, even though it's called Easter Friends. And isn't that bunny just adorable? Don't you want to just squeeze him and love him? He's so soft looking. So that's the stamp set that we're using. And I've got my watercolor pencils here. And we sell our watercolor pencils in two assortments, assortment 1 and assortment 2. And I bought a little box. You can buy these, I think it's like $8 or something. You get 4 of them. And then the colors that I am using, I have Daffodil Delight, I have Pumpkin Pie for the feet and the beak, and then I also have some crushed curry. So what I did is I took the crushed curry and just kind of quickly went over these edges, or these areas that are made a little darker by the Stampin' Up! Design artists. And I'm not doing anything really precise here, because I'm going to take a blender pen and color this in a minute. So then I'm going to take my Daffodil Delight and I'm going to fill in those other areas on the duck that I didn't use the crushed curry. The thing is, Talina, if they come out with more colors, like another assortment of the pencils, they barely fit in this container as it is. I haven't heard any kind of word that they're planning to come out with more, but if they ever should come out with more, I'm going to need to figure something else out. Then I'm going to take my Pumpkin Pie and I'm going to color his little beak and his feet. Again, I'm just kind of going in and quickly scribbling it. I'm not making sure it's perfect or anything like that. Now I'm going to take my blender pen, scribble a little bit with it just to make sure it has all the color off of it from the last time I used it. And now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm kind of pulling in this yellow, or I'm sorry, the crushed curry. I'm using my blender pen to go ahead and smooth that coloring out. I love that little hair on the top of his head. Okay, now I'm going to take the lighter shade, and what I want to do is, as I'm smoothing that out, I also want to be trying to pull some of that darker crushed curry into the yellow, just so that it blends well. And then finally, I'm going to do my orange bits, my pumpkin pie on his beak and his feet. There we go. And he's done. So now I'm scribbling off all the colors, so the next time I use it, it will be color-free. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick this down. I don't know if I'm in the frame. Stick this down on the So Saffron backing that I cut, and we're going to use a little bit of that foam adhesive. See, I'm using my snips for this, and I don't know, I like it better when I use the bigger ones, but they both work. Okay, so let's go ahead and stick this down. Guess I only probably needed 3 of these. Throw the other one back in my box for later, for another time. I'm peeling off the backing now, and now I want to stick it onto here, and I'm putting it up toward the top, not at the top, but toward the top, because then I'm going to take my white twine and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around a couple times. I think I have quite a bit of excess twine here, but it is easier to tie good bows though when you have excess twine, so I don't like how that is doing that right there. So tie my bow, and then what I'm going to do, scoot this down. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my bow the way I want it, play with it a little bit. There we go. And I kind of scoot this around a little bit so that my bow is more in the middle, and I'm going to trim off the excess. The other thing I'm going to do, because I kind of want these two pieces to stay together and not come, you know, apart like two completely separate threads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little glue dot. This bow is plaguing me. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's kind of being funny. Okay. Well, I'm going to get a glue dot here using my Take Your Pick tool again. These, by the way, are like 10 bucks. And like I said, I use mine all the time. They are well worth the $10 investment. But I put a little glue dot on the back there because then what's going to happen is once I put it down, it's going to stay right where I want it. There we go. Now let's go ahead and put this on our card. I feel like once you get it on that So Saffron card base, you really can see the variegation in the colors of the other three colors that we've used. So, what do you think of this card, you guys? With our cute little duck. Talina said she loves this set. Have you got it yet, Talina? Okay. Now we're going to move on to the final card of the night. Let me put my pencils away here. Now this card, we're going to use the nuts and bolts set. I used it a couple of weeks ago, and you may remember that I said how much I love this stamp set. I love this little guy. He's my boyfriend. And he doesn't have a name yet, but he will. Maybe next time I use him, he'll have a name by then. But it's such an adorable stamp set. I just love it. And then, of course, my layering circles. You know, I use these all the time. They are a must-have. Let me show you the card we're making. So I did the same thing on this envelope as I used the Real Red Designer Series paper that is in the Regals pack of Designer Series paper. And this is our card. It's our cute little robot. And it's blank on the inside. So let's go ahead and get started. Do our envelope first. My glue bottle is kind of messing with me tonight because it came out so fast last time and made such a mess that now I'm afraid to squeeze it. And I'm having trouble with it coming out now. Just got to show it who's boss, remember? Okay, so I'm going to stick this on here. When I do this, when I put Designer Series paper on my envelope flap, the piece I cut was 2.5 by 6 inches. That gives me a little bit of extra wiggle room here. I need to reposition this. Gives me just a little bit of extra wiggle room, and then I can just cut off the extra. So, there we go. Let's cut off the extra like I just mentioned. If you cut a little bit of your envelope, doesn't matter. No one's going to know. Okay, set that aside. Throw away my scraps. Get the glue off my fingertips. Okay, so card base, just like the ones before it, 8.5 by 5.5, folded in the middle, scored in the middle, so 4 1/4. I want to just see what I do. Okay, so now what we're going to do, let's do the inside. We've got a little strip of the Real Red Designer Series paper. Just going to put a little bit on this strip here. If you have not used our liquid glue before, a little goes a very, very long way. It's a good adhesive. Okay, and I did not want this one to go all the way to the edge, so you can see I've left a border around the edge of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in our card. There we go. Now let's start working on building the card. I have some basic white and some basic black that are actually going to go together. So let's go ahead and glue them together now, just because it's one less piece for me to lose. And again, it's a very, very small margin. Oh, you know what? I bet I put the bigger one on the, or the littler one on the inside. Which new kit, Selena? Oh, the robot kit. No, I didn't get it. There's no stamping involved in that kit, which is great for some people, but I prefer to be able to stamp a little bit. I'm going to trim this down. Hang on just a second. Hang on, guys, I'm almost ready. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and put the white on black, now that it fits. There we go. There's a little more to one side than the other. Let's see if we can fix that. If not, we'll leave it as is. Little trick I have learned: when you tear your card, when you have to tear cardstock off like this, try to tear toward the center, because if it tears the paper, it's going to tear it in a direction that's covered up, so you're a little better off that way. Oops. Get this going. Okay, that's better. All better. Now what I'm going to do is I have these 3 strips of the Real Red cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use, again, my foam adhesive sheets. You can just use dimensionals for this too. I'm just lazy when it comes to peeling the backing off, and I like these because it's 1 piece of backing to pull, well 2, but instead of having 8,000 little dimensionals to pull the backing off of. Robin, I love the ducky too. He's just so cute to me. And I think he looks like he's drunk, and that just amuses me. Okay. Oh my goodness. I just put it on the wrong direction, or wrong side, but that's okay. What's funny was the side that after I'd made it, I thought, oh, I should have used this side instead. So it won't quite match our envelope, but that's all right. Same color. And I thought these would have been cute if they'd been going the other direction, because I don't know, it reminded me of like little bleeps and blips, and it just makes me think of robots. Okay, so now let's go ahead and stick these on here. I have found that when I'm putting down an uneven number of things, or an odd number of things, like 3 or 5, I start with the middle one, because then I can line up the others around that middle one where I want them, instead of starting at the top or at the bottom and then ending up way off center. Okay, so I have those 3 guys there. Now, where did my little pieces go? Right here. Goodness, I don't know what my issue is tonight, you guys. Okay, so I just have one of the circles that I cut using my layering circles dies, and the way I figured out what size to cut is I literally took the stamp. What you can do is stamp the image first if you want, but what I did is I literally took the stamp, and when they're in my case like this, you can see them, and then I just took circles like this until I found the one that fit what I was going to be doing. So like, for example, in this case, this one would have been too small because this guy goes off the edge over here. That's how I decided what size to make sure that it fit. Okay, so let's get my little boyfriend out. Here he is, so cute. And I'm going to use my Memento ink. We're going to be coloring him with blending pens, with our Stampin' Blends. And when you use your Stampin' Blends, you want to stamp with Memento ink, because Memento ink won't dissolve with the alcohol pens, so it won't get as fuzzy as it might with other black inks. However, you still want to try to be careful and not go over the lines too much, because they will kind of dissolve a little bit. Okay, got my Stampin', what is that? I'm drawing a blank at what this is called. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of what it's called, and I use it all the time, and I talk about it all the time. But I'm going crazy today, I told you. Oh, the other thing we want to do, we're going to have to go against what I always say. I always say, do your stamping before you do your gluing, so that if you mess it up, you don't have to start all over. And today I have done my gluing and my sticking and all the things before the stamping. Greetings, kind human. I just love that. There we go. Fortunately, it worked out for me tonight doing it in that order. Okay. color our little robot now. So I'm starting with real red. I've got the light real red and the dark real red. And make sure I'm going to start with the dark on the outer edges of the heart. So I just go around like that. Then I take the lighter real red, whoops, and I pull in the color for the dark so that it blends. And then kind of I scribble around where I can see the darker is just to get it all to blend in there like that. And then the other thing I'm using the dark for, the dark real red, to do his little bleepy thing at the top of his head. And I'm sure bleepy thing is the technical term for that, just in case you were concerned. Okay, so now I have smoky slate. I have the dark and the light. So we're going to start with the dark. And I'm going to do his feet, hands, and legs with the dark. And then I'm also going to do this lower section of his body with the dark. This is my favorite red too, Talina. I mean, we do have a few other shades of red. I do like the cherry cobbler quite a bit, but I really just like how vibrant this red is. His little neck is going to be dark. I just realized I forgot to color his neck on my original one. There we go. Now it's dark. And his little ears. And the little knot on the top of his head. And then I take the dark and I'm just going to go along the lines, outlining his head. Like that. And then I'm going to take the light, and the first thing I'm going to do is go around his eyes because I want to make sure I don't color his eyes. I accidentally colored his eyes on my original one, but I think what happened is I got too close with the dark or something and it kind of bled in there and it ended up looking like he has a black eye because it only did it on one eye. Coloring in this and just kind of trying to draw in that darker line there so it blends. Oops, how about doing the rest of his body? I forgot to outline his body too. You want to outline. You always want to do the outline with the dark one and then with the light pull in that dark. Another thing about these pens is this will look different once it's had a chance to really soak into the paper and dry, because you can see the difference between the one I just colored and the one that I did last night, where this just looks a little more blended, a little more settled, and this one will look the same tomorrow. Okay, now I want to make sure this guy stays on there. So now I'm just going to put this on, trying to center it on those red strips as best I can. And then we're going to take the matte black dots just to fill up some of that white space a little bit. Come to me, come to me. Listen, you. We'll put one down here. Put them in a triangle because that draws the eye. And there we go. What we're going to do now is go ahead and glue that onto our card base. Okay. And now our little robot dude is done. So he's ready with his envelope. And the inside, plain and simple. And there we go. So that's our third card tonight. Let me get some stuff out of the way and we can take a peek, just kind of rehash what we've done tonight. We made it through, you guys. We survived all my weird wackiness tonight. I should say you survived it. Well, I mean, I guess I survived it too, but I've come to expect it from myself. You guys should be able to expect perfection from me, right? Thanks, Robin. Robin says it's so cute. Okay, so we've got our little robot guy. That's card number, whoops. Well, it was card number 3. Let's put it outside the envelope so you can see the whole thing. We have our cute little drunken ducky. Let's put him outside the card as well. And then we also have our, why am I forgetting what it's called? This one is the Sentimental Swirls. Put that there. So that's what we made tonight, you guys. I hope you enjoyed what I did and enjoyed the night. I see lots of hearts coming, boys. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. If you get a chance to share this video, whether you're watching it live or on repeat or replay, that really helps me out. That just gets me out there to more people. And your comments are so appreciated. I really love the interaction with you guys. This is the highlight of my week. So I thank you for joining me and for participating in what we've done. And I encourage you to get out there, get stamping yourself. If you need any of the supplies that I used tonight, or there's other things on your mind, for example, those specials I showed you at the beginning, I would love to earn your business. You can go to heathersides.stampitup.net. And again, if your order's under $150, I'd appreciate it if you'd use this host code. If your order is over $150, then don't use the host code because I want you to get all those host credits. Hey, Kathy, I see that you're joining us. We are just finishing up, but you can certainly catch it on the replay. I also upload to YouTube as soon as we're done here. I upload this video, so if that is an easier platform for you to watch things, I do have a page on, or a channel on YouTube. Just look for Stamp Happenings, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye-bye.